The jungle was alive with sound. Birds called from high branches, insects hummed in thick clouds, and the wind whispered through the trees. Luis pushed through the green walls of vines with steady steps, his boots sinking into the damp soil. His shirt was already wet with sweat, but his eyes were bright with determination. For months he had studied maps, old texts, and local stories about a place called the sacred Jaguar cenote. Now, after days of walking deeper into the Yucatan jungle, he felt they were close. Behind him, his small team followed with heavy packs. Sofia, the historian, carried notebooks filled with copied Mayan symbols. Raul, the diver, had his oxygen tanks strapped to his back. Mateo, the cameraman, kept his lens ready for anything unusual. Each of them had different reasons for joining the journey, but Luis's reason was simple. He wanted to prove the legends true. At midday they stopped to drink water. The air was heavy and warm, and even the shade felt hot. Sofia looked over the notes in her hand and said, "The locals believe the cenote is guarded by the spirit of the jaguar. They say the waters were used for sacrifice." Raul laughed softly. "Old stories. Every cenote has a tale." Luis shook his head. "Not like this one. The elders described light under the water, something no torch or fire could make. That is what we are looking for." They walked on until the trees thinned, and the ground dropped away into a hidden sinkhole. The sight stopped them in silence. Before them stretched a wide opening in the earth, its edges ringed with green vines that trailed into deep blue water. Sunlight fell in beams through the gap above, making the surface shine like glass. The jungle sounds faded here, as if the place itself demanded quiet. "The sacred Jaguar cenote," Sofia whispered. They set up camp at the edge, placing ropes and gear in careful order. Mateo filmed everything, circling with his camera. "If this really is untouched," he said, "then we are the first to see it in centuries." Luis moved closer to the water. The surface was clear, and he could see shadows moving far below, like carved stones or walls hidden under layers of time. His pulse quickened. He felt the weight of history pressing around him. Raul tested his tanks and mask. "I'll go first," he said. "We need to know how deep it is." Luis nodded, though his chest was tight. He had waited years for this moment. Raul stepped into the water with a splash, then disappeared below. Bubbles rose to the surface, then nothing. The team waited in tense silence. Minutes passed before Raul broke through again, gasping. "It's deep," he said. "But it's not just rock. There are shapes down there. Walls. And carvings. I swear they were glowing." Sofia's eyes widened. "Glowing? How?" Raul shook his head. "I don't know. But it's not natural." Luis felt a rush of excitement. "Then we go together. This is what we came for." The team prepared carefully, checking lights, ropes, and tanks. One by one, they slid into the cool water, following Raul into the depths. The world above disappeared, replaced by silence and drifting light beams. Fish darted away as they descended. As they swam lower, the walls of the cenote came into view. But these were not ordinary walls. They were smooth in places, almost polished, and marked with carvings that did not match the rough stone. Patterns glowed faintly, like stars etched in the dark. Some resembled Mayan glyphs, but others looked strange, curved in ways no human hand would normally carve. Mateo's camera light caught the designs, and the glow grew brighter, as if the carvings answered back to the light. The team stared in wonder. Sophia held her slate against the wall and traced a symbol. This is similar to a Mayan sign for the jaguar. But the rest I don't recognize it. It's like two languages mixed together. Luis reached out with his hand, hesitating just before touching the glowing surface. The water around him seemed to hum, a low vibration that pressed against his chest. He pulled back quickly, his heart racing. Raoul pointed deeper, where a tunnel opened beneath the wall. There's more down there. A passage. Luis nodded. We mark this place, then return tomorrow with more air and lights. We will not rush. This cenote has waited hundreds of years. It can wait one more night. They rose back to the surface, breaking through into the warm sunlight once more. Each of them breathed hard, not only from effort but from the weight of what they had seen. The glowing carvings, the unnatural smooth walls, the hidden passage, it all felt like the start of something far greater than a simple discovery. That night, they sat by a small fire at the edge of the cenote. The jungle sang around them, but their thoughts were trapped in the dark water below. Mateo whispered, "Those carvings were alive. I swear they were looking back at us." Sophia shook her head, though her voice was soft. "No one will believe this unless we bring proof." Luis stared into the flames, his mind racing. He thought of the elders' warnings, of spirits guarding the treasure. He thought of the glowing walls that seemed older than stone itself. Deep in his heart, he knew this was not only a Mayan site. It was something more. Something waiting to be uncovered. And tomorrow, they would return to see it. Morning light filtered through the canopy, spilling gold across the camp. The team rose early, their nerves buzzing with both fear and excitement. The memory of glowing carvings and hidden tunnels had burned into their minds all night. Luis stood at the edge of the cenote, staring into the calm water. It looked so peaceful, yet he knew the depths below held secrets that could change everything. Sophia came beside him, holding her notebook close. "I kept thinking about the symbols," she said softly. "They are not only Mayan. I saw curves and patterns that don't match anything in their language. It feels older." Luis nodded. "Older, or not from here at all?" He kept his eyes on the water as if it might answer him. Raoul checked his diving tanks again. "We need more time down there today. Yesterday we barely scratched the surface. I want to see where that tunnel goes." Mateo adjusted his camera. "And I'll record every step. No one will be able to deny what we find." They lowered themselves into the water one by one. The surface closed above them, and once again silence wrapped around their bodies. The beams from their lights pierced the darkness, bouncing off fish scales and stone. They swam lower, back to the wall where the glowing carvings waited. The patterns were brighter than yesterday, as if they had awakened after the team's visit. Blue and silver light shimmered across the curves, moving like ripples on water. Luis felt his chest tighten. It was almost as if the wall knew they had returned. Sophia raised her slate and pointed to one section. "Look here. The jaguar symbol has lines around it now, like rays of light. I did not see that before." Raoul frowned. "You mean it changed overnight?" She nodded. "Yes. Or maybe it reacts to us." Luis motioned for them to continue. They turned toward the tunnel Raoul had found. It gaped like a black mouth beneath the carvings, its edges smooth and round. No natural flow of water could have shaped it so perfectly. As they entered, the light from above faded, replaced only by their lamps. The passage sloped downward, deeper into the earth. The walls gleamed faintly, showing strange curves and lines that looked more like metal than stone. Luis brushed his hand against the surface. It was smooth and cold, far too perfect for natural rock. Mateo's voice came muffled through the radio in his mask. This isn't a cave. This was built. They swam farther, their bubbles rising and vanishing into the dark. After several minutes the tunnel opened into a vast chamber. Luis gasped into his mouthpiece. The chamber was enormous, stretching beyond the reach of their lights. Pillars rose from the floor, perfectly shaped, covered in the same glowing designs. The water here felt different, heavier, carrying a soft vibration that pressed into their bones. Sophia floated near one of the pillars, staring in awe. This is not Mayan. This is something else. Raul's lamp caught a section of the floor. He swam closer and signaled. Carved steps led downward into another passage, but here the glow was stronger, spreading across the stone in flowing lines. At the center, an orb of light hovered just above the floor, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. The team froze, watching. The orb drifted slightly, then spun in place. Luis felt the water around him shift with its movement, like a wave passing through. The orb darted upward suddenly, circling them once before vanishing into the shadows above. Raul's eyes widened. Did you see that? It moved on its own. Mateo raised his camera quickly. I caught it. It wasn't just light, it was alive, or controlled. Luis steadied himself, heart pounding. We don't chase it. We keep to the plan. They moved toward the carved steps, shining their lights downward. The steps led to an arched doorway, tall and wide, its edges covered in glowing lines. Beyond the doorway, they could see another chamber, darker but filled with faint movement. Shapes flickered in and out, too quick to see clearly. Sophia gripped Luis's arm. Maybe this is what the stories meant. Spirits in the water. Luis shook his head. Not spirits. Guardians. Before they could enter, a low sound rolled through the chamber. It was not the sound of water, but something deeper, like a voice carried through stone. The carvings on the walls brightened, flooding the chamber with blue light. The pressure in the water grew heavier, pushing against their suits and masks. Raul motioned urgently toward the surface. His air gauge was dropping fast. Luis hesitated but then nodded. They would return prepared. He guided the team back through the tunnel, past the glowing carvings, and up toward the sunlight above. They broke the surface, gasping for breath. The jungle air felt thin compared to the heavy silence below. Each of them climbed onto the stone edge, pulling off their masks. Raul lay on his back, chest heaving. That chamber, it wasn't made for people. I felt like the walls were breathing. Sophia hugged her notebook to her chest. The orb, the changing symbols, the sound, it all matches the legends. The Mayans must have seen these things and built their stories around them. Mateo checked his camera with trembling hands. I recorded the orb. When people see this, they'll know we found something impossible. Luis stared at the water, still glowing faintly where the carvings were hidden below. His thoughts turned heavy. They had entered a place that was not meant to be touched, a place guarded by forces unknown. And yet, the cenote had allowed them to see a part of it. He whispered to himself, the deeper we go, the closer we come to the truth. The others did not hear him. They were too busy drying their gear and preparing notes. But Luis's eyes never left the water. He knew the cenote was not done with them. Tomorrow, they would dive again. And tomorrow, the depths would demand more from them. The morning sun rose higher, sending golden light across the jungle canopy. Luis stood near the edge of the cenote, staring at the still water. His mind replayed the events of yesterday, the glowing carvings, the strange orb, the deep chamber that seemed alive. Every part of him wanted to dive again, but he also felt a weight pressing on his chest. They were touching something ancient, something that might not want to be disturbed. Sophia sat beside him with her notebook open. She had drawn the orb and copied the strange patterns she remembered. I compared these shapes with Mayan symbols, she said. Some are close, but others don't belong anywhere. It's like two languages mixed together. Luis nodded slowly. The Mayans must have built their rituals around this place, but they didn't make it. They only found it. Raul adjusted his oxygen tanks and checked the straps. Whatever it is, we'll find out today. That doorway we saw, it leads deeper. I want to know what's beyond. Mateo lifted his camera and smiled nervously. As long as I can record it, the world will believe us. Even if no one understands what it means, they'll see it with their own eyes. By midday, they were ready. One after another, they slid into the cenote's cool water and followed Luis down into the glowing depths. The carvings greeted them again, brighter than before, pulsing faintly like veins of light. It felt as though the cenote was waiting for them. They swam through the smooth tunnel and entered the vast chamber. The pillars glowed faintly, the strange vibration still thrumming through the water. The orb was gone, but the memory of its movement lingered in their minds. Luis motioned toward the carved steps and led them down. Their lights caught the tall arched doorway below. The glow around its edges shimmered like fire beneath water. As they passed through, the water seemed to thicken, and their movements grew slower. Beyond the doorway stretched another chamber, smaller but more focused. The walls were covered in flowing patterns of light, moving like rivers across the stone. At the far end stood a raised platform with a panel embedded in it. The panel shone with steady silver light, as if waiting. Luis felt a pull in his chest. His body seemed drawn toward the platform, though he could not explain why. He swam closer, ignoring Raul's hand trying to stop him. He reached out slowly, hesitating for a moment before placing his palm on the surface. The effect was immediate. The chamber shook, sending vibrations through the water. The glowing lines across the walls flared brighter, racing toward the platform. The panel beneath Luis's hand warmed, and suddenly beams of light shot upward, forming shapes in the water above them. The team froze in awe. A star map appeared, floating like a three-dimensional picture made of light. Points of light connected with lines, forming constellations they did not recognize. Some paths led back toward Earth, while others stretched far beyond, into unknown space. Sophia pressed her mask closer to her face. This is not just decoration. It's a map. Look, Earth is here, at the center. The rest are other worlds. Mateo aimed his camera in every direction, trying to capture everything. This is real proof. Someone left this here. Someone who knew the stars. Luis felt the warmth under his hand grow stronger, almost like a heartbeat syncing with his own. The chamber's vibration deepened, and new shapes formed around the map: symbols, figures, even moving patterns that looked like ships. They rotated slowly, their outlines sharp and clear. Raul pulled at Luis's arm. We should go. This isn't safe. But Luis shook his head. No. It's showing us something. It wants us to see. The symbols shifted, forming into something closer to Mayan shapes, as if translating for them. Sophia gasped. It's a record. It's showing us that the Mayans were here. Look, these figures, they are people. and they are standing beside others that are not human. The projection showed tall shapes with elongated limbs and bright eyes, standing beside Mayan priests. Together they looked toward the stars. The meaning was clear: the Mayans had met something not of this earth, and they had been trusted to guard what was hidden below. Luis felt both wonder and fear. This place was not only a sacred site. It was a vault, a meeting ground between humans and beings from the stars. The cenote was not chosen for sacrifice, it was chosen as a door. Suddenly, the map shifted again, and the entire chamber shook harder. A deep sound rolled through the water, like thunder trapped beneath stone. The light flared, and the star map twisted, showing one world burning in fire before fading into darkness. Sophia grabbed Luis's arm, her eyes wide. "It's a warning. Whatever left this message wanted us to know what happens if this power is misused." Luis pulled his hand away, and the light dimmed at once. The chamber calmed, though the vibrations lingered. The map dissolved into glowing dust that sank into the water. They floated in silence, breathing hard, their hearts racing. Raoul finally spoke. "We should never have touched it. This is bigger than us. It's dangerous." Luis shook his head slowly. "No, Raoul. It's not danger, it's responsibility. Someone hid this here for a reason. And now it's waking up because we found it." The team exchanged uneasy looks, each of them knowing Luis was right. The cenote had waited for centuries, guarding its treasure in silence. But now, with a single touch, it had awakened. They swam back toward the surface, the glow of the walls following them like eyes in the dark. When they broke into the sunlight, they pulled themselves onto the stone edge in silence. The jungle air felt thin and heavy at the same time. Luis stared into the calm water, his thoughts racing. The cenote was not just a sinkhole or a sacred pool. It was a doorway to the stars, and it had chosen to reveal itself to them. And deep in his heart, Luis knew this was only the beginning. The night was restless. The team sat around a small fire near the cenote, their faces lit by flickering flames. None of them spoke much, but each one carried the weight of what they had seen. The star map, the alien figures, the warning of fire, all of it played again and again in their minds. Luis hardly slept at all. Each time he closed his eyes, he saw the glowing lines shifting on the walls and felt the vibration deep in his chest. At dawn, he stood by the edge of the cenote, watching the water. It was calm, but he sensed movement below, like something waiting for them. Sophia joined him quietly, clutching her notebook. "I read the stories again," she said. "The locals told me of jaguars that guard the underworld. They said the sacred waters lead to the realm of the gods, and anyone who enters without respect will face the beasts." Luis kept his eyes on the water. Maybe the stories were not only myths. Yesterday we saw the Mayans with the others. They guarded this place. If the Mayans left, something else must have stayed behind. By mid-morning, the team prepared to dive once more. Raoul seemed tense, his hands shaking as he checked his tanks. "I don't like this," he muttered. "That warning we saw, it was not meant for us. It was meant to keep us out." Mateo raised his camera. "If we stop now, no one will believe what we already found. We have to go back." Luis nodded firmly. "This is not just about belief. We need to understand what this place holds. If it is waking, then we need to know why." They lowered themselves into the water again. The cool silence wrapped around them as they swam down the familiar tunnel, through the glowing chamber, and toward the platform where the star map had appeared. The walls still shimmered faintly, like a heartbeat waiting to rise. But before they reached the platform, a sudden flash of movement cut across their path. Luis froze, his heart racing. Out of the shadows swam a massive shape, sleek and glowing. It was not a fish. It was not a person. It was a jaguar, its body made of shimmering light, its eyes burning gold. The glowing beast circled them slowly, its tail moving like a ribbon of fire. Another appeared beside it, then another, until 4 of the glowing jaguars surrounded the team. They moved gracefully, their bodies leaving trails of light that lingered in the water. Sophia's hand trembled as she raised her slate. She wrote a single word for the others to see: guardians. Raoul lifted his spear gun nervously, but Luis grabbed his arm and shook his head. No, Luis signaled firmly. We do not fight. The jaguars swam closer, their glowing eyes fixed on the divers. One of them darted forward, stopping just inches from Luis's mask. Its face filled his vision, sharp and majestic. He felt its gaze press into his mind, testing him, weighing him. He did not move. Instead, Luis raised his hand slowly and pressed it against his chest, bowing slightly in the water. It was the same gesture he had seen carved on the walls in Mayan glyphs, an offering of respect. For a long moment, nothing happened. The glowing jaguar's eyes narrowed. Then, slowly, it backed away. The others circled once more before drifting into a line, forming a path toward the platform. The team floated in stunned silence. Raoul lowered his weapon, his eyes wide. Sophia pressed her hand to her mask, whispering through her radio, "They accepted us." Mateo's camera shook in his hands as he filmed. They were testing us. If Luis had fought, if any of us had, maybe we would already be gone. Luis nodded, his chest still tight. The Mayans must have done the same. Respect is the key. Not sacrifice, not fear, respect. They swam carefully along the path the jaguars had opened. The glowing beasts followed at a distance, their golden eyes never leaving the team. When the divers reached the platform, the guardians stopped, forming a silent wall that watched without moving closer. Luis touched the panel again, and once more the chamber came alive with light. The star map returned, brighter than before, and new symbols appeared beside it. They showed the jaguar shapes standing beside humans, both facing outward toward the stars. Sophia pointed with excitement. It's telling us that the guardians are not enemies. They were left here to protect the treasure until someone worthy arrived. Raoul shook his head slowly. And if we are not worthy? Luis looked at the glowing jaguars. They did not attack, but their presence was heavy, like a warning. He spoke calmly through the radio. Then we show them again. We prove that we came not to take, but to learn. The chamber pulsed once more, and the jaguars moved aside, letting the team see deeper into the projection. This time, the symbols shifted to reveal crystalline-shaped strange tablets floating above pedestals, glowing with stored knowledge. The treasure was not gold or jewels. It was information, kept safe for centuries under water and stone. The projection faded, and the platform went dark again. The jaguars turned, circling once before vanishing into the shadows of the chamber. The team slowly rose back to the surface, their hearts pounding with the weight of what they had witnessed. As they pulled off their masks at the edge of the cenote, Raoul exhaled hard. Guardians made of light. Knowledge instead of gold. This isn't what I signed up for. Sophia shook her head. But this is bigger than gold. This is the kind of treasure that can change all of humanity. Luis stared into the cenote, his voice steady. We passed the first test. Now the cenote will show us more. The jungle around them stayed quiet, as if listening. The team knew the cenote still had secrets waiting below. The guardians had accepted them, but acceptance was only the beginning. The morning air was thick and warm, and the jungle seemed quieter than usual. Luis and his team prepared to dive again, their excitement tempered by the memory of the glowing Jaguar guardians. Today, they were not just exploring, they were about to face the cenote's deepest secrets. Luis checked his gear carefully. "Stay close," he instructed. "The guardians accepted us yesterday, but we do not know what else is down there." Sophia clutched her notebook, her eyes bright. "I have been studying the symbols we saw. I think the next chamber will show us something important, something the Mayans kept secret." Raul adjusted his tanks nervously. "I just hope it's worth the risk." Mateo smiled faintly, lifting his camera. "Every risk is worth recording this." One by one, they slid into the cenote's clear water and descended along the familiar path. The carvings on the walls glowed faintly, guiding them forward, and the water hummed with energy. When they reached the platform again, the chamber was ready for them. The jaguars were not present, but their absence did not make the team feel safe. The air or water still thrummed with life. Luis approached the panel carefully and pressed his hand against it. Light surged instantly, and the star map from before appeared. This time, the projection expanded, showing more than constellations. A tunnel of glowing light extended from the map, leading downward, and below that, the team could see the shapes of crystalline tablets, floating above pedestals like stars in a sky. Sophia gasped. "It's the treasure. This is what the Mayans protected. Not gold or gems, but knowledge." Raul moved closer, squinting at the glowing shapes. "Knowledge of what?" Luis swam forward and touched one of the tablets. Images and symbols burst into the water around them, forming shapes of starships, energy systems, and structures that defied earthly design. The water shimmered with holographic light, illuminating the chamber with moving diagrams. Mateo raised his camera, filming in awe. "This is incredible. Whoever made this, they were far beyond our technology." Sophia reached out carefully, touching another tablet. Symbols shifted and formed scenes of humans and alien beings working together. Some humans wore ceremonial robes like the Mayans, and the aliens had tall, slender bodies and glowing eyes. They appeared to be teaching, sharing, and learning. Luis studied the images. The Mayans were entrusted to guard this knowledge. They were not chosen to use it yet. It was meant to wait for humanity to be ready. Raul shook his head slowly. "So all the sacrifices and rituals we heard about, they were just stories to protect this place?" Sophia nodded. "Yes. The rituals kept people from touching the cenote without respect. Only those who approached with courage and honor could pass the guardian's test." Luis examined the tablets again. He could feel the energy of the chamber pressing gently against him, urging him to learn. One tablet responded to his touch, projecting a hologram of a star system. Lines of light traced paths between worlds, showing travel routes and energy currents. It was a guide, a map for something humanity had never achieved before. The team floated silently, absorbing what they saw. Each tablet contained designs for advanced technology, energy systems that could power entire cities, structures that floated in the sky, vehicles that moved without fuel. It was as if an entire civilization had left instructions for humanity to rise. Mateo spoke softly. "This is more than treasure. This is a gift. Whoever left this wanted us to grow." Luis nodded. "And now we have a choice. We can take knowledge carefully, learn from it, and use it to help humanity. Or we can ignore it and leave it hidden forever. Sophia looked at the glowing tablets, her eyes wide. We can change everything. Medicine, energy, travel, everything could be different. Rahul hesitated. And what about danger? What if using it too early brings trouble? Luis's expression was serious. That is why the guardians are here, and why the knowledge was hidden. It is a responsibility, not a prize. We must respect it, learn slowly, and prepare humanity before we use it fully. The chamber pulsed gently, almost as if agreeing. The glowing tablets rotated slowly, displaying information in a rhythm that seemed alive. The team floated among them, learning, recording, and absorbing the designs. For hours, they explored each crystal, mapping every symbol and image. When they finally surfaced, the sunlight felt warmer and brighter than ever. The jungle around them seemed alive, as if it too acknowledged the importance of what they had found. Sophia clutched her notebook, filled with sketches and notes. We have proof now. This is real. And it is far greater than anything we expected. Matteo smiled, his hands still shaking from excitement. People will never believe this. But I will record it all, and one day, they will understand. Luis looked at the cenote, his eyes serious. The Guardians and the Mayans left this here for a reason. We cannot take it lightly. Our next step will be the most important. We must learn and prepare. Rahul exhaled slowly. I understand now. This is not a hunt. It is a responsibility. Luis nodded. Exactly. The cenote is more than water and stone. It is a doorway to the stars, and we have been given a glimpse of what lies beyond. The team left the edge of the cenote slowly, carrying their knowledge and their wonder with them. They knew their discovery was only the beginning. Humanity's true journey was just starting, and the treasure beneath the sacred Jaguar cenote would guide them toward a greater destiny. The jungle was quiet that morning, but Luis could feel tension in the air. The discovery of the crystalline tablets had changed everything. The team had spent hours recording and studying the symbols, but now a new question weighed heavily on his mind. Had the cenote's guardians warned them about something more than they realized? Sophia checked her notes carefully, tracing the energy patterns the tablets displayed. The maps we recorded are not only about travel or technology, she said. They show signals, pathways, and points in space. Someone or something is watching. Rahul frowned. Watching? What do you mean? Sophia pointed to the holographic star maps they had captured. These points. They are connected to places outside Earth. Whoever built these systems left markers, like a beacon. The cenote might be sending a signal into space. Luis's chest tightened. He had suspected it might be so. The energy from the tablets, combined with the vibrations in the chamber, could not remain hidden forever. If someone receives the signal, he said quietly, we could have visitors. And they might not be friendly. Matteo lowered his camera. Visitors from the stars? That is serious. By midday, they returned to the cenote to continue their exploration. They moved carefully, respecting the Guardians' lessons, though the glowing Jaguar figures had not appeared this time. The tunnel led them to a chamber they had not fully explored before, deeper and narrower, yet filled with the same pulse of energy. Luis approached the edge of a raised platform and touched one of the crystal tablets. The holographic lights expanded in the water, showing star systems and strange ships moving along the paths. As the team watched, A sudden motion appeared in the projection. One of the starships separated from its position and began moving directly toward Earth. Sophia gasped. "It is leaving. It is coming here." Raul's hands trembled. "Why? What does it want?" Louis studied the path the ship traced. "It might be a guardian, like the Jaguars, but at a larger scale. Or it might be a force that does not recognize us. Either way, it is coming toward us because of the signal." Matteo raised his camera, his voice low. "We need a plan. If it is hostile, we cannot just wait." Luis nodded. "The cenote has protected knowledge for centuries. Perhaps it also has defenses we have not yet seen. We will not fight blindly. We will try to communicate first." The team worked quickly. Using the holographic maps from the tablets, Luis traced a pattern in the water, replicating the energy sequence that seemed to summon or project messages. The glowing lines around the chamber responded, moving faster and forming new symbols that Luis interpreted carefully. Sophia observed closely. "It looks like a language, a way to show intention. If they understand, they may stop. If not, we will have to defend ourselves." Minutes passed, and the water in the chamber vibrated strongly. A low hum filled the space, echoing through the tunnel. The team felt it pressing against their suits, like a heavy hand reminding them of the stakes. Suddenly, a shape appeared far above the cenote. The water surface trembled, and a shadow moved in the sunlight. It was unlike anything they had seen. A massive ship descended, its hull glowing faintly with energy patterns similar to the crystals. It was silent, yet its presence carried authority. Raoul held onto the edge of the cenote. "It is real. It is actually here." Luis signaled for calm. "Everyone stay focused. Remember, we came to understand, not to fight." The ship hovered just above the cenote. Light flowed from it down into the water, scanning the chamber below. The holographic symbols responded, pulsing with energy as if recognizing the visitor. Luis pressed his hand against a tablet again, sending a pattern through the water, forming symbols in the air toward the ship. Slowly, the light from the ship shifted. Instead of attacking, it hovered in place, observing. The vibration in the water calmed slightly. It was as if the ship was reading their intentions. Sophia whispered, "They are judging us, like the Jaguars did. If we show respect, maybe they will understand." Luis nodded and extended his hand toward the projection. The holographic lines formed a path between Earth and the ship, showing connection rather than conflict. The pulsing energy in the chamber responded, creating a bridge of light that reached the water's surface. The ship paused, then slowly rose back into the sky. Its lights faded as it left, but a faint signal remained, a trail pointing back to the stars. The cenote was quiet again, the water still and calm, yet the team knew the challenge had only just begun. Matteo lowered his camera, breathing hard. "We passed the test. They accepted us." Raoul shook his head slowly. "That was too close. I did not expect to see something like that in my life." Sophia smiled, though her voice was quiet. "The cenote is more than a vault. It is a gate, a test, and a teacher. Humanity has been chosen to learn, but we must prove we are ready." Luis looked into the water, feeling the calm pulse beneath him. "The guardians, the crystals, the star maps, they have prepared us for this moment. Now we know that what we have found is being watched. And the next step will be our true test." The team climbed out of the water slowly, each one lost in thought. The jungle seemed to hold its breath. Above them, the sky stretched wide and bright. Humanity's path had expanded beyond Earth, and the sacred Jaguar cenote had shown them the first step. Luis whispered to himself, "We have to be worthy. The stars are waiting." The sun rose slowly over the jungle, painting the trees in gold and green. Luis stood at the edge of the cenote, feeling the calm water beneath him. The events of the past days had changed everything. The glowing carvings, the Jaguar guardians, the crystal tablets, and the alien starship had shown them that humanity's path stretched far beyond Earth. Sophia and Raul were already preparing the equipment. Mateo adjusted his camera, ready to capture every moment. They had learned to move with respect, to honor the cenote and its guardians. Luis knew that today, the final step awaited them. "The ship will return if it needs proof," Luis said quietly. "We must show them we are ready, not with weapons, but with understanding and respect." Sophia nodded. "We have the tablets, the star maps, and the patterns. If we replicate the sequence carefully, they will see our intent." Raul hesitated. "And if they don't accept us?" Luis's eyes were steady. "Then we try again. We do not fight. We communicate." They entered the cenote together. The water wrapped around them like a familiar friend. The glowing carvings welcomed them back, brighter than ever. The Jaguar guardians did not appear, but their presence seemed to hover in the shadows, watching, waiting. Luis guided the team to the central platform. The crystal tablets floated above their pedestals, glowing softly. He placed his hand on one of the larger tablets. Instantly, the water pulsed with energy. Light streams rose, forming symbols in the water and moving upward toward the surface. Sophia followed, touching another tablet. The holographic symbols expanded, creating a network of light that connected all the crystals and the water's surface. Raul and Mateo did the same, forming a synchronized pattern. The water vibrated with energy, and the air above the cenote seemed to hum. Luis held his breath as the sky above rippled. A shadow appeared in the distance, and the massive alien ship descended once more. Its lights scanned the cenote, pausing as the holographic patterns reached toward it. The ship moved slowly, observing, but it did not attack. The light bridge from the tablets extended upward, connecting Earth to the vessel in a delicate, glowing thread. Luis pressed his hand against the largest crystal, sending a final pattern through the water, a message of peace, respect, and readiness. For a long moment, nothing happened. The water hummed, the jungle remained silent, and the team floated, holding their positions. Then, the ship pulsed with light, its energy scanning the patterns. Slowly, it shifted, raising higher above the cenote. It hovered for a final moment before a beam of light shot downward, illuminating the chamber beneath the water. The symbols on the tablets glowed brighter, forming shapes of humans and jaguars together, standing tall and proud. It was a sign of acceptance, a confirmation that humanity had proven itself. The ship slowly turned, moving upward, leaving a faint trail in the sky before disappearing beyond the clouds. Sophia whispered, "They accepted us. We passed the test." Raul let out a deep breath. "I can hardly believe it. We just spoke to something from the stars and survived." Mateo lowered his camera, smiling with relief. "And now we have proof. The world will not believe this yet, but one day, they will." Luis swam to the edge of the platform and touched the water. He felt the calm pulse of the cenote, the rhythm of guardians, tablets, and energy. "The cenote has taught us that courage, respect, and understanding are stronger than fear or violence. The Mayans protected this for a reason, and now we are ready to carry it forward." Sophia nodded. We have the knowledge. We have the guidance. And now, humanity has a choice. We can use this wisely. Rahul added quietly, we have to prepare. We cannot rush. We must be worthy, just as the cenote demands. Luis looked up at the sky, feeling the weight of the responsibility. The stars are open to us. The cenote has given us the key. But it is humanity's courage and wisdom that will unlock the future. The team slowly rose to the surface, breaking into the warm sunlight. The jungle around them seemed alive, as if acknowledging the moment. The sacred Jaguar cenote lay quiet once more, its secrets safe yet revealed. The glowing carvings shimmered faintly in farewell. Luis watched the water, feeling both awe and determination. This is only the beginning, he said softly. Humanity has been chosen to grow, to reach further than ever before. And now, we will not fail. The team left the cenote, carrying with them the crystalline tablets, star maps, and the memory of guardians and alien contact. They had faced the tests, understood the treasure, and survived the challenge from beyond. The jungle stretched endlessly around them, full of life and promise. And above, the sky hinted at stars that waited for humanity to rise. The sacred Jaguar cenote had shared its gift. Humanity had claimed it with courage, respect, and honor. The journey into the stars had begun. Luis paused at the edge, looking back one last time. He smiled, knowing that the cenote, the guardians, and the knowledge beneath its waters had chosen wisely. And now, so had humanity.